Hello and you're welcome to Business Highlights on Trust TV, where we take an analytical look at business and economic developments for the week. My name is Chamun Dabeng and I'll be your host. We're opening the floor with the stock market report. Well, the week ended Friday, September 16th, and the Nigerian stock market posted its second straight negative closing after 4 days of losses and 1 day of a flat close. The market fell by 0.44% or 118 billion naira during the trading week under review. Stocks related to banking and insurance dominated sell-side trading on the Nigerian Exchange Limited (NGX), and the market is seen to have fallen by 0.73% so far this month. The all-share index ASI of the market and its capitalization dropped from their highs of 49,695.12 points and 26.804 trillion naira respectively over the previous weekend to 49,475.42 points and 26.686 trillion naira. The market's year-to-date positive return has reduced to 15.82%. The reviewed trading week's major sectoral indices all ended in the negative. The NGX 30 index, which tracks the progress of the 30 largest publicly traded companies, fell by 0.5%, while the NGX Consumer Goods Index fell by 0.27%. Other indexes include the NGX Insurance Index, NGX Banking Index, NGX Oil and Gas Index, and the Industrial Index. Well, for our top three gainers for Friday, we have NEM Insurance, PLC, Academy, and Japal Gold, and they were up by 8.97%, 6.8% and 3.7% respectively. And for the top three losers, we have NGX 30, Regal Insurance, and Unity Bank, down by 10, 7.41% and 6.98% respectively. Well, that's all for the stock market report. More to come after the break.
That's great. It's good to see you.
You're welcome back to Business Highlights on Trust TV. And once again, my name is Chamun Dabeng. And today we're going to be taking a look at inflation. In the latest Consumer Price Index released by the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, on Thursday, Nigeria's inflation figures have surged from 19.64% to 20.52%, representing a 1.77% month-on-month increase. The surge makes it the highest rate since September 2005. The increase in the CPI indicates a 3.52% increase when compared to the rate recorded in August 2021, which was 17.01%. Nigeria's inflation figures have been experiencing a steady surge since February of this year, though this may prove worrisome to Africa's largest economy should the new rate come as a shock. Now, joining me in the studio today is economist Mr. Steve Nwachukwu. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Now, a lot of people have basically predicted that this was going to be the situation in this month's CPI, but I'm curious to know what you think. What were you expecting?
Yes, just like you said, I belong to those majority that expected that the both consumer price index and the core index, headline index, inflation index will actually edge up because there are things that actually result to the movement or whether it moves to the south or moves to the north. So basically most of these variables or most of these very factors is suggestive that the Nigeria will continue to see a higher double-digit interest rate or double-digit inflation rate. So that's expectation of most of us. So, and it happened, and in fact, it happened moderately in the sense that what we actually expected is somewhere within 22% to 23%. So, in fact, there are still school of thoughts who still believe that what you currently have is somehow managed by the government.
You don't feel like it's the right figure?
This is not the realistic figures, because if you compare to the reality of what prices of these items, that you have the pool of them in a basket to actually judge from what last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you should be having somewhere within 30% or somewhere above 30% inflation figure. But be it as it may, we are having something within 20 to 21 or 20.5 or 2%. So it's relatively lower than what we actually expected.
All right, so speaking about market realities, we did go out into the streets to speak to Nigerians to see how the inflation has affected them. And we also spoke to an economist, Dr. Emeka Okengu. Let's take a look.
Transportation is one of the factors that have made the inflation of goods and other commodities very high. Most of the commodities are being brought into Abuja from other states, making it difficult for poor man to afford. Eating is a necessity for man. The goods have gone up exorbitantly, making it difficult for we the sellers to make the kind of profit we are making.
Last year or last 2 years ago, we are selling like 1.5 or 1.3 or 1.7. So I'm afford now, the thing is very cost. If you need a very big one, through you go reach 4,000, 4,500. It is expensive, too much to the nation, to the country. And the transport motor you are going to supply from Bled, and you are bringing it to Abuja, and you are dropping, and the shop, you are paying the revenue allocation. And that's what we are going to calculate to anything complete our money. We say we put small game, like 50 naira, 100 naira. That is the thing, is making the chicken cost.
This was predicted now. It was easy for us to know that we are going to get here eventually. And what would be the drivers? Basically 2 or 3 things you need to look at, okay? Look at your capacity to be able to produce food internally. Look at the rising cost of your forex, okay? And then look at your insecurity. These are basically, the things you need to measure against a prediction. So this was a war or a disaster or a situation rather. Okay, because it's not a disaster, it's a situation, albeit not a very palatable one that was easy to have been predicted. So it's not a shocker. Well, for me, I think necessity has to become the father of a new invention. So it's not about what is going to plant. What is going to plant is foretold again, it's known. In an inflation, people are going to lose jobs. Okay, prices are going to skyrocket. There's going to be more depression, there's going to be more aggression. So all those are known. But what should bother us now is not the consequences of high inflation. It should be, how do we begin to address it? Because it's like asking somebody, is it a sunny day? And the person is asking you for a handkerchief to wipe their faces, and it's sunny. We're under the sun now. We're under a lot of intense pressure and heat. So it's for government to begin to now look at social services and social engagements that might be able to help to cushion this. Okay, cushion the effects of where we're going to on the citizenry, especially, the underserved, if you may, the people in the underground economy. We need, what were they calling that thing in COVID? Palliatives. Okay, this is the time, I think, that government needs to begin to now engage, in direct palliatives distribution. So you need to start calling out people. Okay, this is where your M&E structures, come to play. All right, who is monitoring, who is evaluating, who is oversighting? Okay, for everything you do, the moment you have somebody overlooking it, right, he doesn't have to use a whip, okay, but sometimes you can calmly be, pressured into line. So if there are any failures, it will be the failure of responsibility.
All right, so cushioning the blow for Nigerians. Now, this is a very important factor right now that we need to be looking at. And Dr. Okengu did bring up the aspect of, palliatives. We've seen palliatives come in different forms. Now, do you agree with this as a solution or as a way to sort of soften the blow on Nigerians out there?
Yes, I think the summation is perfect. It's in order. You cannot do without palliative. If you watch in other clients, like in the UK, in the US, you find that there are trillions and billions of dollars and pounds that came out as palliative. In fact, of recent, there is over close to 600 billion pounds that British government is actually bringing out to cushion the cost of energy and the rest of them as a result of the effect of the Russia-Ukraine war. So I think palliative is one of those major. But the case of Nigeria, how do you, actually aggregate or, dish out this palliative to the true Nigerians who actually needed it? Beyond the palliative, there are other social activities of social welfare activities that government should also engage, because we are talking about inflation, we are talking about food in the table of average Nigeria. What are these food Nigeria needs? We need the basic cereal, we need the basic grains.
Wheat, grains, yeah.
So federal government, nothing stops it from the Federal Minister of Agriculture to move into mass cultivation of these items, at least to make the prices relatively cheaper for Nigerians to have in their dishes. So, and beyond even the federal government involvement in agriculture, for the purpose of alleviating the sufferings in Nigeria, not for the commercial purpose, for the purpose of alleviating the sufferings Nigerians will be passing through because of hike in prices of this item. Government should also look at and get involved in logistics, in giving logistics, bringing this very food from these hinterlands to where they actually, because most of this very inflation figure is as a result of haulage of these very items. You find that if you listen to the report, is more on the cost of transportation, moving these goods from one end to the other actually affected. And you find that the CBN is not also doing much well in this area by bringing up like some of interventions that will actually help most of them in the transport sector so that they can have these very items or this very replacement of the attire, replacement of the equipment, or replacement of most of these mechanicals about the trucks, so that you can give some kind of intervention in that regard, because this is a very huge sector, those in haulage, so that they can be able, even the roads are also affecting them. A couple of them government should actually look into.
There's always
beyond the physical payment of palliative or physical payment of TPENs to Nigeria, you should also do other things that will aggregate and make this very suffering lesser to Nigerians. But as it stands now, it's going to bite hard on Nigerians.
All right, Steve, you brought up the agricultural sector. Now, the CBN has created policies around this. Now, we know the Anchor Borrowers program has been out there for a while. There's even a program trying to, generate more wheat production within the country. So far, how come we haven't seen these things actually making a difference in the market?
No, that's the truth. You see, most times I have opportunity to speak on this very Anchor Borrowers program. I do criticize it, and I also welcome it for the face value of Anchor Borrowers program. From the face value, it's a very, very good idea, very good project, or very good policy from the federal government through Anchor by Central Bank of Nigeria. But who has hijacked it? Politicians. Who has implemented? If you take a forensic audit of that Anchor Borrowers program, you find out that 70 to 80% of money disbursed to politicians. So how would you find grains? How would you find those items that they've disbursed money for? So that's why you cannot find the grains where you needed it now most, that the price is to cushion the price of these very items in the market. So if government is sincere enough through agriculture, because I'm beyond this very intervention of TPENs and the rest, government should also look at this process of mass production or cultivation of this very item. It will help. If you cultivate and the yams are available in the market, the grains, the maize, the rice are available at a cheaper price, it will cushion the prices. It will cushion the fates of very high prices of these very items in the market. So government should look in towards that angle. There's nothing taking over some hectares of land mass production or mechanization agriculture, so that you can have these very items available in the market. That will help.
All right, so I would like to bring out the issue of company outputs. Now, we heard the market seller, the trader right there, talking about how the cost of transportation has shot up. And we know that, of course, transportation is a very major aspect, you know, because we have a lot of people putting in money into energy itself. Now, how is this going to affect company output moving forward in the year?
Of course, it will. Just like I said earlier, most of the variables or factors that resulted to this very hike or the increase in our inflation figures. As a result, one, in the last couple of weeks or months, you find out that central bank actually adjusted their MPR from somewhere 13% to 14%. So cost of finance is already gone up by 100 basis points. You also find out that NNPC, through the federal government, adjusted the pump price of petroleum spirit, of fuel, as popularly called, from about around 165 or 169 to about 179 and thereabout. So these are all affecting in the market. In fact, in the months to come, we expect this cost of living or cost of doing business going up, because you have adjusted the most critical of variables or most critical factors that could, you know, determine where the inflation will be going. You adjusted the pump price of petroleum products. You also adjusted the MPR from about 13% to 14%. These are very two critical areas, which that's why I said earlier that I expected the figure to be somewhere within 22 to 23%, because these are the two major factors that will result in the movement of the inflation rate beyond the 20.52% is currently. So these are the two key things. Government can do better than what they have done. And institutions of government should also have a kind of a synergy in their policy. When CBN is coming from this way, the Minister of Finance should be coming from the other way, and all of them should be converging somewhere so that the resultant effect of their policies are not felt by Nigeria. Definitely the cost of living will continue to go up if you don't do anything about the scarcity of forests. This is a very key area also, because the man that is you know, having his finished product in his factory is buying dollar from the parallel market. If you also notice in the last 2-3 couple of weeks, you find out that the forest, the cost of accessing forest from the parallel market, dollar was within around 600. Now is about 700 and above. So you find that these are the very variables that have resulted in, and they will as long as they continue to age up, it will continue. The cost of diesel relatively have adjusted, but still above 800 naira per liter. So these are very, very key issues that needs to be addressed. Otherwise, the inflation figure will continue to go up north.
All right, you brought up the MPC. Of course, you know that we're in a MPC month right now. The Monetary Policy Committee is going to be meeting sometime this month in the next couple of weeks. So that's something I would like to discuss when we get back from the break. Don't go anywhere. You're welcome back to Business Highlights on Trust TV. My name is Chamunda Beng, and I'm still here with economist Steve Nwachukwu, and we're currently looking at Nigeria's latest CPI figure. Well, the inflation rate has gone from 19.64% to 20.52% right now, which basically beat out every other month at this point since 2005. We're basically seeing another repeat, and there are a lot of fears that these figures could actually keep getting higher if things are not actually fixed. All right, so we're coming back to the Monetary Policy Committee, which will be meeting this month. Now, Steve, I would like to get your perspective. What do you think the outcome of this next meeting is going to be? We've seen them raise the benchmark interest rate. It's moved from 13 to 14% so far. In the last two, it's been raised, you know, consecutively. Now, what do you think it's going to be this time around?
Whatever be the figure that CBN may come, but I foresee them holding to this time because they've increased in 2 consecutive times. This time they were going to hold on because, like I said earlier, most of those inflationary factors are not from the demand push. It's often from the supply push. Those things that cause the inflation, they are from the supply push. We talked about supply of dollar to the system, supply and the haulage, availability of those vehicles for the haulage. It's still within the supply chain. Production of these very items available in the market is also it. So these are the things. So I'm not even looking at any of the policies that is coming or any of the benchmark rate they are going to, come up with to address the issue of the economic woes. Nigerians said, no. We should not be looking from the monetary. Yes, monetary policy should be complementary this time. We need basically physical, dedicated policies that will help to caution this very hike in prices. Like I said earlier, what stops federal government by, dishing out loans or giving to genuine farmers to cultivate most of these items that falls into the food baskets? Cultivate them and make them available for Nigerians. You going to not lose anything as a government when you do such. It's not going to also affect the investors or affect those who are into the original production or those who are into agriculture. It's actually going to augment the system because the welfare of your citizenry is part of your policy, is part of your mandate, the welfare of your citizens. So if government should look towards that angle to move in through from the Ministry of Agriculture, there are a lot of agricultural programs, there are a lot of agricultural events that can help, that government can ride on. We have like I said, the anchor borers is there, the Fadama is there, Fadama 1, 2, and 3 or thereabout. There are a lot of agricultural events or agricultural programs that could federal government can actually ride on and make sure that this is very well thought or done properly so that we can have this basic food in the tables of Nigerians, to average Nigerians who actually is passing through this very hardship. So government should look towards that, not from the monetary policy, whatever, if they increase it by 50 basis points or 100 basis points or reduce, it will still have minimal effect to the sufferings Nigerians are passing through. If you could, like I said, do something by cultivation of this very agricultural product and make it available to Nigerians, it will help. And also help you by also making sure that you up your oil production so that federal government will have more, so that the folks or the pressure on the forest will reduce, because we'll continue to see the dollar fall against Naira. The Naira falling on daily basis as a result of we are having a weaker production in crude oil and we have less proceed from the sales of crude. So this has actually affected, and you continue to see the Naira weaken on daily basis. So you should do something on this very oil type so that we'll have more production, at least meet the OPEC quota that you have close to 1.8 or 1.77 million barrels per day. So if you can meet up and have more dollar in your reserve, also have more dollar for your system, for those who's chasing after dollar, to buy those genuine raw materials to finish their product in their factories. This is areas government should look at. Let's not be looking from the CBN. The monetary policy will have little or no effect. Whatever be the figure, we have little or no effect. Rather, we should dedicate some good fiscal policies that could actually attack or arrest this very situation, like moving into agriculture intentionally to produce you could produce the grains, you produce the yam, you produce those that Nigerians need on daily basis. It will help, it will definitely augment. And then the issue of forest, like I talked about, make sure that forest is given to those who genuinely need it to finish, to buy those raw material from China or buy from Dubai to finish, not for those who wants to run trip.
All right, so I would like to, ask you this. What hope does this country really have of escaping this inflationary pressures at this point? Looking at the fact that, inflation is not just genuine to Nigeria. The entire world is basically experiencing inflationary pressures. Even the U.S., currently their inflation is at 8.3%. And this is a country that we import a lot from. Now, looking at this, what hope does the country have, especially with the fact that we are not really a production or a manufacturing nation?
Of course, that's it. You just said it. The hope is for us to turn around. I know it's not going to be a quick fix, as in turn around from a consuming nation to a production nation. You could still do something. You could, in fact, this is the time of austerity measure, whereby you reduce in most of the things you do earlier, as in you frivolosities of those luxurious items or those items that you don't really need to provide for us. Government should cut them off so that those pressures will fall down. If those pressures are down and you give forest to the right people who needs it. The point now, let me take for instance, somebody wants to buy a limousine or buy one special item from UK or from you that has no or little or no effect to the economy. And the other man wants to buy raw material in China. You provide forest for the man who is buying that luxurious item from UK or any other country of the world. You see that.
So the government needs to pick and choose in this matter.
Of course, you have to, as much as possible, to select those who actually need most. You have to. It has to be an intentional act by the government. I will focus on agricultural products. I will focus on raw materials and make dollars. If you make dollars available to those individuals, the cost of, now take for instance, between the parallel market and the official rate is close to 300. I think 415 or 420 to about 700 and above. Imagine if those who genuinely needs those raw materials, genuinely needs those forests to purchase those raw materials are given dollar. Believe you me that they will be, the cost input they will put in those items, the first finished product will not be at the rate of 700. It will be at the rate of 400 or 420 they have actually acquired or gotten those dollars from federal government. So that's why I said it has to be deliberate. Government has to be deliberate. Government can also do something about, looking into the books of these very companies, because most of them are cheating on Nigerians. If they get dollar at 700 or get at 500, they will, multiply everything and be selling outrageously to Nigerians. So government could also look into it. Take for instance, I keep using cement industry. Why would a bag of cement sold close to 5,000 or thereabouts, while 80% of the raw material needed for the production are all gotten here? So these are the area government has to dedicate. It has to be a careful and deliberate act of federal government to cushion the rising price of
all right, so time is not on our side, so I just want you to speak to this within 30 seconds or less. Recession, are we actually looking at a recession right now? Because it's been a real and actual fear for a lot of people. Or are we looking at a depression?
Well, to say we are in recession is not like you are, until federal government or Bureau of Statistics made it clear. But I think we are already in recession. But I think we are, based on the fact that the federal government is already crying wolf. There won't be a capital project in our fiscal 2023 fiscal year. So the inevitability of us entering in recession is there, and the depression is part and parcel of recession. So definitely very soon we may fall into that if government does not do things that they needed to do to at least keep the economy at float.
Well, you heard it. I think that's a good way to end. The government does need to step in and make the right policies, make the right moves in order to curtail inflation, because the Nigerian citizens are depending on it. The Nigerian economy is depending on it. In fact, the whole country is depending on it. All right, we've come to the end of our show for today, and I would like to thank my guests in the studio. Thank you so much, Steve, for being a part of the show. And to our viewers out there, thank you so much for watching. Please do well to follow us on all our social media platforms. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. All you need to do is look up Trust TV News, and you'll definitely find us there. Well, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Please do come back again. Let's talk numbers.